I accept your cookie, sure, dog.
We're streaming, baby.
Are we live?
Yep. And we're going to start recording.
Are we officially back?
Boom, baby. We are back. Oh, getting a fist bump from across the table.
Yeah. White as can be, baby. That's how we roll. We know what we are.
Well, I think part of the problem was I also said boom, baby. Like that doesn't help our case there.
Ryan, know what you are. Embrace it.
Yeah. Dude, we are starting this podcast off hot. Today is going to be good.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, everyone, thank you for joining in. Big card, UFC 241.
Ooh, huge.
Sean and I were super pumped to start talking about this one. So let's get the ball rolling, man. We have a packed full card. I mean, from the undercard and over. We got a lot to cover. So we're going to kick it off with a few fight announcements, just some stuff that's upcoming.
I got one huge announcement that was just put up probably about a couple hours ago at this point. Our boy Francis Ngannou just got booked for the next Fast and Furious movie.
He did?
Yeah.
Is he?
I purposely held this from Ryan because I wanted his live reaction.
Because you said that was like what, an hour ago? Well, you just told me that like they announced something that you wanted to tell me about.
They haven't said what he's going to be. I would imagine it's like Ronda Rousey was in Fast and Furious. He's not going to have any lines. He's basically just going to be like a dude that fights Vin Diesel, shirtless maybe. Yeah,
probably shirtless. Yeah.
Also, Kat Zingano just got cut from the UFC, former title challenger. Not a surprise there. She was like 3-4 in the UFC, lost like 4 of her last 5, I think. 2 fight announcements. Overeem versus Walt Harris in our nation's capital, December 7th. We'll headline that card. I imagine the co-main event is Struve versus Rothwell. That just got announced. And coming up, couple good fights. Andrade versus Sang. Andrade makes her first title defense at strawweight. That's August 31st in China. That's 2 weeks from this Saturday. And then our next podcast, Khabib versus Poirier, September 7th in Abu Dhabi, lightweight title. What up?
Now that was white, man.
Yeah.
That was next.
I told you we're embracing it.
We upgraded on that.
We don't even really do this stuff.
No, I know.
Ever,
I think it's just when you're in front of the camera. I went white, baby.
It's the whiskey because that's as white as it gets.
Cheers.
The co-main to Khabib versus Poirier is Barboza versus Paul Felder. That is
I love that.
Fireworks.
I love that fight, man.
Following that week, you got Donald Cerrone fighting Justin Gaethje in the main event. That's bananas.
That's another people's fight.
So that's pretty much it for fight announcements right now.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot going on at the moment.
No, I think this is the big Q3 fight. I think you and I talked about this. Like we see a lot, like the UFC this year especially. I think we started seeing this trend a few years ago, but this year especially since they've kicked off with ESPN, they go big once a quarter, like big, and that's what essentially this one is. We always compare it to like the end of the year card because that used to be
August. Usually isn't the one.
Yeah,
this is usually where you start hitting the dead time of the year.
Yeah, it historically used to be New Year's and July 4th were the
Super
two
Bowl
biggest.
weekend. They used to do some big stuff.
Yeah, they did, but I would definitely say
right,
New Year's and July 4th was always the big one. But now it seems quarterly, man.
Now November's a big one because they're going to Madison Square Garden every November.
And you got to figure like they're kind of pulling back a little bit going into Q4 just because they're trying to load up. At the end of the year.
I was gonna say they're going to save all the big stuff from Madison Square Garden and New Year's, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they always double up on pay-per-views in December.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Having a little bit of trouble there with your mic?
Things falling off there. I don't know. Looks close. I won't touch it.
No problem. But yeah, so anyways, let's kind of kick this one off, man.
Before we get into this, though, enjoy this card because other than some main events, there's not anything coming up top to bottom.
Yeah.
So enjoy this while this one lasts Saturday because until probably Madison Square Garden, you're not going to get a stat card.
Yeah. That's a great point. I think we do have a lot of great matchups. I think you mentioned a few like JJ versus Watterson. That one's going to be fun. Obviously, Poirier.
Whitaker and Adesanya in October. They might load that card up. They haven't announced really anything.
I can't believe I've heard. Yeah, that one should be fun too, man. Yeah. I can't wait for that.
I know they've talked about Holloway fighting Volkanovski, but I think I heard Ariel this week say that that's not looking likely at this point.
Who fighting Vol? I didn't hear you.
Holloway.
Oh, Holloway fighting Vol.
The title fight.
That could be another end of year.
It sounds like it's not going to happen at this point.
Vol was coming off of a injury recently.
No, he was on weight for the last.
I know, but he was coming off a injury before
sick.
that.
He was
though.
sick.
Yeah, or sick. Was he sick?
Yeah,
I know some.
When he fought Aldo, he was sick in Brazil. He had to stay for a little bit.
Yeah,
but yeah, he was fine. He made weight. And he was ready to go a couple weeks ago.
That's awesome. But yeah, man. So to your point, though, I think enjoy this card. I know you and I are going to be sitting on the couch on Saturday watching. I don't know so much about the early prelims, but definitely the prelims are loaded.
The early prelims I wouldn't worry about, but as soon as those prelims start, get to your TV.
Yeah. So let's kind of kick it off, Sean. If you had to just say, if you've listened to us before, we don't really cover a lot of the prelim and early prelim stuff to try and keep this bad boy under an hour. But
load up prelims, so this is
no. But it's always good.
Yeah, I think this is as fun of a prelims as you're gonna. It's not loaded necessarily with names, but they're young and they're hungry guys.
They're guys that Sean and I have watched, and you gotta watch these guys. So, Sean, actually, did you want to mention a few of those?
The first fight on the main prelim, the Bermudez Triangle, Bermudez, greatest nickname since Keith Jardine, the Dean of Mean. In my opinion, he's 14-0. He's got 11 subs, 1 knockout. Is taking on Casey Kenny. He's 8-1-1 with 4 subs, 2 KOs. So I think that'll be a fun fight. Both guys are finishers. After that, you got Rafael Sanso, a vet at bantamweight, number 3 in the world, fighting Corey Sandhagen, number 9, who we're both very high on. He's
Sean, throw some of those stats down that we talked
before. He's 10-1. He's got 4 knockouts, 3 subs, in 4 UFC fights. I think it's about 8 rounds. He's landing 8.8 landed per minute, and he's only taking 2.7 per minute.
8.8 is insane.
But not just the output, but he's not even taking shots.
Yeah, I mean that's
nothing.
That's an incredible ratio.
If you could tell somebody
that's a 4-to-1 ratio.
If you could tell any fighter in the world that you're going to land 6 to every 2 of your opponents, they're like, yeah, I'll take that. Yeah.
Well, 8. You said he was landing 8 per minute, right?
8.8 to 2.7.
So he's almost landing 9 shots. That's insane, man. I hope my math was right there. Whatever. But anyways, that's insane. That's got to be like a UFC record, like that high of output, that insane accuracy with that good of defense. And to your point as well.
I mean, and he can grapple.
Yeah, I mean that's incredible. The guy is so much fun to watch.
UFC's high on him for a reason.
Yeah,
we're both high.
And that's why he's fighting Sun Sao is to a Sun.
We don't really know what's going on in this feature prelim. We know Devontae Smith's showing up.
Yeah,
he's 10-1, 9 knockouts, 1 sub, so he's got a 100% finish rate. We love him. The thing
we
love
like
about him, he's quick, he's fast, he's very basic with his striking. Not that that's an insult, but he just sticks to fundamentals. Fun to watch. Is he fighting Clay Collard or is he fighting Karma Worthy? We don't know. Some name websites like CBS Sports and Sherdog and MMA Fighting, they'll have somebody different for him fighting, so we don't really know who he's fighting, but whoever's showing up's getting knocked out most likely.
It's typical. We always complain about
the UFC website. If you go on there, it says he's fighting Karma Worthy, but if you click on Karma Worthy's name, it goes to Clay Collard, so nobody really knows.
Yeah, so that's a nightmare, but either way, Devontae Smith, you got to watch him. He's a good prospect.
Second straight feature prelim for him. That's a reason.
That's right.
There's a reason for that. So
yeah, he's definitely about to hit that main card status.
Yeah, he's 3 fights, 2 featured main prelims. I mean, come on, he's coming.
And honestly, like between that fight and the Corey Sandhagen fight, those two, if those two were on the main card, that'd be a lot.
Like this prelim would be a stacked free fight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
With a good main event.
Yeah, that would be. But, yeah, so there's a lot to tune in for the prelims. Sean and I are really adamant about watching prelims. You get to watch guys that are coming up, a lot of guys coming off Dana White Contender Series and just getting into the league. It's really good to see the new up-and-comers because you never know when you're watching the next John Jones on the undercard.
Yeah, I mean, Corey Sandhagen could be the next stud at bantamweight. We thought it was going to be Garbrandt. That's fallen through, so you don't know. With Dillashaw out, Henry Cejudo probably won't be lasting long being a dual weight champion. He's too small. So I mean, this dude could be the next real thing.
Yeah, Mariah should have whooped him, but he just gassed out. He should have crushed him, but that's a whole other thing. So, all right, well, let's kind of kick off the card. I mean, to the point, like as stacked as this is, we have kind of 2 like potentially dragging.
We don't know. You never know. Derek Brunson sometimes can come out fighting.
Yeah. You never know what you're going to get with Brunson. So we got Brunson versus Ian Heinch fighting. Both these guys are a little bit older, especially for middleweight. I think that they're just trying to find some backups for the middleweight division to have some contenders.
Yeah, it's just veteran fight.
Yeah. I mean, well, Ian Heinz, I see how he's squeezed in I think he's got 14 professional fights overall. He's done that in 4 years.
He's only had one loss. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's done that all in 4 years.
Not a high finisher, though, which the UFC doesn't necessarily – they're not high on. That's usually a long path.
Yeah. And
unless you talk a lot of shit.
Well, he's already 31, so this is kind of like his
but
make or break.
The higher weight guys are usually a little older when they make it.
Yeah, but I mean, I still think middleweight's one of those very athletic. I mean, you got the
you
Yoel.
Put him up, I was gonna say you put up against Yoel Romero, Costa, Adesanya, Whitaker, Gastelum.
Yeah.
He ain't up there. He ain't that level.
Yeah, and Yoel Romero's just he's 42, but he's on another level of just
athletically. He's
on another level
Superman.
of human being.
He's a Cuban Superman.
That's for sure, man.
He's like number 2 man crush behind The Rock. Let's be honest.
Yeah, for sure, because he's legitimately terrifying. Like he'll rip your soul out. But Ian Heinz is a good wrestler. Derek Brunson,
not that great of a wrestler. He got taken down 8 times in the last fight.
Yeah, but he got taken down by a great jiu-jitsu fighter.
Yeah, but wrestling usually dominates jiu-jitsu in the takedowns.
Yeah, it's true.
I feel
he's a strong wrestler, but that's what I was going to say is Derek Brunson's, he's a former collegiate Division II wrestler. So
I feel like that's almost like you probably get made fun of in the wrestling community for getting taken down by a jiu-jitsu guy 8 times. Like once, I'm sure they could look the other way. Like, nah, he probably caught you on good timing. Maybe twice. 8 times though for like a jiu-jitsu guy's gonna take down a wrestler.
I would be very intrigued to know that. Like, I want to know like these college guys that watch the UFC.
Even like a Derek Brunson.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you got taken down by a jiu-jitsu guy 8 times.
Yeah. Like,
really? They don't even practice his takedowns really in jiu-jitsu.
Well, if Derek Brunson were to say that to me, being Ian Heinz, I'd be like, well, is there anybody in the top 10 that hasn't knocked you out?
Well, I wouldn't say that because he hasn't fought anybody in the top 10, so that's a steady hill to climb because if you get knocked out by Derek Brunson, that doesn't look good.
Yeah. This can turn, to be honest, the way I think that this fight is going to go is it's going to be an ugly brawl. I think both these guys are just going to go.
It'll be sloppy. I think it'll be a sloppy fight.
Yeah, because Ian Heinz likes to come in and wing shots and throw power punches.
So does Derek Brunson.
And I was about to say Brunson does the same thing. So if you have 2 guys that are decent wrestlers that can keep the fight standing, that's probably what we're going to see. In that regard, Derek Brunson just needing a win. Granted, he won against Elias Thudro in a very underwhelming fight. Mostly on Thudro's part, but that's why he's not part of the UFC anymore.
Say, he got cut on a win streak almost.
Yeah. That's because the style just wasn't.
I mean, yeah, I don't even
very
talk because I can go into a
long-winded explanation. But I think Brunson's going to need a win here. I mean, he's had some brutal fights going back in his UFC tenure. I mean, if we go back and look, yeah, sure, he's
been knocked out by everybody.
He's had some wins by
Whitaker. He's been knocked out by Adesanya.
Yeah, I mean,
knocked out by. I think did Uriah Hall knock him out? No, maybe he knocked.
No,
out Uriah.
Yeah,
Hall.
he knocked out. But that was a fight, if I remember correctly. He was losing until he caught Uriah.
He might have been. No, I think that was the one that he just overwhelmed him early.
Was it?
Yeah,
okay.
But Souza knocked him out. Anderson beat him by decision. That was a dumb fight. That was boring.
Yeah,
knocked him out. Jacare knocked him out early on.
That's right. Kendall Grove. That's a heck of a name if you want to go back in time a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, he does also have some notable wins. To your point that you just mentioned, Uriah Hall. He beat Sam Alvey, Ed Herman, Lorenz Larkin.
Those are
Chris
Lorenz
Levin.
Larkin's a welterweight, and then the other 3 or the other 2 they're kind of.
Yeah,
veteran.
I'm just trying to give him some credit here.
No.
Honestly, honestly, we're gonna kind of skip by this one pretty quick.
Let's just move on from that.
All right, we're done.
Yeah.
We're just going to move on. To give these guys their time, I think that this is going to go one of 2 ways. Either the wrestling is going to be stifled by both guys, and it's going to be an ugly stand-up winging fight, or I'm going to see Brunson
from a UFC PR
cage.
standpoint. Wouldn't you want Devontae Smith kind of leading off the pay-per-view?
That was one of the points I was trying to make. Like, it's crazy that you have 2 great fights headlining the prelim.
Or even Sandhagen and the Sunsow, because, I mean, at least that way you can promote – either way you're promoting a young prospect.
Why not put both of those guys into the main event?
But I think also to counter my point, which is weird, is that they're going to get more views on the feature prelim.
Than the pay-per-view?
Their prelims usually get 2 to 3 million, I think, views or something.
Is that including in the time frame since they've done ESPN Plus?
That was before ESPN on Fox.
Yeah, but that's a problem, though. I don't know if it's the same with the ESPN.
I would think it'd be more on ESPN.
Yeah,
Or
I
just,
don't know.
I think if at the very least it'd be the same.
Oh, by the way, speaking of ESPN, I was telling Sean about this the other day. Disney announced, because, Disney owns majority share of Hulu. Obviously, they own ESPN, and they're opening up their own streaming service. But you're going to be able to bundle those packages for $12.99, I believe,
Which is awesome.
coming by the end of the year. So that's going to be great for people that own Hulu and pay for
Which
ESPN
I do. I have
separately.
Hulu and ESPN, so I'll take that deal.
Yeah, right.
That's why when you texted me that, I was fucking through the roof.
Yeah. So that'll be a good deal, because part of the problem that we've talked about this year since UFC has joined ESPN is just this whole wall that the cards are behind right now, where you have to have a subscription to ESPN, and then you have to.
Well, I'm sure you still have to pay the $59.99 for pay-per-view.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, and then you have to pay for the pay-per-view on top of that. But I'm just saying, like,
At least you get your money's worth out of that.
Exactly. That's kind of
bundle.
my point. Is at least you're getting 3 streaming services that you can kind of justify on a monthly basis. Whereas, if it's not, I know for us, like, if it's not football season, I never really used ESPN Plus before the UFC jumped on. But anyways, yeah. So for me, I think this is going to go one of two ways. Either Brunson's going to wrestle him, get him up against a cage, and try and stifle his punching and his power punches, his wings. Or it's going to be both guys are standing in the middle and they're just throwing a bunch of ugly shots.
Yeah, I think this is a good one where you go get some snacks. Maybe you make a beer run real quick or something.
Yeah. I picked Brunson.
Yeah,
Decision.
I'd take the vet in this one.
Yeah. He kind of, to me, this is the kind of fight he wins. It's against an up-and-comer guy. This is not like the guy's young. And
This isn't an Adesanya or
Yeah,
Whitaker
exactly.
that he fought when they were up and coming.
And what were the odds for this one? I know we have it on our ticker, but I haven't looked into it yet.
This was plus 140 for Brunson. He's the underdog to Ian Hinch minus 160, so it's close.
Yeah, that's
Vegas
close.
is looking at it the same way we are, like,
Yeah, Sean and I kind of went through this. I think this whole, just to kind of go back to how the whole card is really good. Obviously, we just came off of the fight that we're least excited for, but the rest of the card is obviously great, and the Vegas odds kind of reflect that as well. So, which I think is exciting. But all right, man, let's move on to the next one. I don't have my round
Gabriel
bell
Benitez
today,
taking
so.
on 9-1 Sodiq Youssef. Not an exciting one either. Or overly exciting. I mean, Youssef's a prospect.
Yeah, Yusuf's definitely a prospect. He's part of that Nigerian connection that they talk about all the time.
Yeah, that they've been bursting through the scene so far.
Yeah, who was that? Usman, I think, talked about that. Like all these Nigerian fighters coming through. They got that Nigerian connection in the background.
Who's the guy who knocked out Nico Price back in
I always forget that guy's name.
Zach Al-Hassan.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That
dude's a
monster of a human being.
I don't even know when was the last time he's fought. I don't know if that was his last fight.
It's been a year now. Nico Price was his last fight.
Was it?
Yeah.
He must be injured or something.
For some context, the guy's 11-0 with 11 first-round knockouts. Or is he 11?
He might have one loss, but he's got like 11 knockouts.
Yeah,
or he's won.
I think he has one loss that was a decision.
He's won every fight by knockout.
In first round.
Yeah, he's a monster, and he's a black belt in judo, so he can grapple too.
Yeah, he's a monster. So
not much to talk about in this fight. I mean, Youssef, there's much film on him. I think he's got some knockouts. I think he's got 4 or 5.
He does. One of the things that kind of got me was when I was listening to some of the pre-show stuff, they were really talking about his knockout power, and he does. He hits really hard, especially at the 145. So this is a featherweight matchup. But I mean, I wasn't overly impressed. I don't see him doing that one punch knockout. I see he grapples, he grabs onto his opponents a lot. He's very stiff in his stand up. He'll look to feed into that right hand. So he's a very typical power puncher, throws a lot of overhand rights. The one good thing that I think he does is he presses up against the cage, which I think helps his strength because he looks like a very thick 145 dude.
Sure.
He's strong.
He
he's
looks
strong
yeah,
at
he
145.
looks cut.
So he'll press his opponents up against the cage, kind of do that dirty boxing. He has the potential. It's just he's too young. He's 25 right now. I think he still has a lot of development in front of him.
I think it's a good fight for him at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Benitez is a good.
He's fought some good fights.
Yeah, the guy's been inconsistent. He's been in the UFC, I think, since 2014, if I remember correctly. But he's sat out years at a time and stuff. He's got great grappling, so that'll be a nice test too.
He's fighting out in Mexico. He's got that Mexicano in him.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
He's gonna come to fight.
And he's still relatively young. I think he's only 31 maybe. And he's pretty tall for the division. Both guys are 5'8", so that's always good. But yeah, and then Benitez actually has some notable wins too. Jason Knight,
yep.
Sam Sicilia. And again, it says something when you've been in the UFC for an extended amount of time. He's been back all the way back to 2014. No, you're fine.
I think this is kind of the role that the UFC is putting on Benitez at this point, is fighting the young guys. They put them up against Jason Knight. He won that fight. Got Jason Knight out of there.
Yeah.
And now he's going to fight Youssef, who they're very high on for a pretty good reason. I mean, he's 9-1.
Yeah.
I don't think he's been overly challenged.
No, he had a great Dana White Contender Series fight against a great boxer.
Which has produced great talent so far.
Oh man, I love that so much better than the Ultimate Fighter show.
Yesterday, 4 of the 5 fighters just got signed. So again, they're just signing people left and right.
Honestly, it doesn't even matter. Some of the guys that lose, a lot of the guys that even lose, as long as they show up well and they show that they're a good prospect, I mean, they still sign those guys too.
They at least got their eye on them.
Yeah, which is awesome. I think that's a great opportunity for young fighters.
Because the message has been sent in that series early on that come to finish, and chances are you're going to get a contract. So people are coming to fight.
Yeah.
I've watched it a few weeks. I always wish I watched more. I always forget.
Yeah.
Because it's on a Tuesday night.
It's on a Tuesday night. It's kind of weird.
But whenever I remember to watch it, dude, it's always fun fights.
Yeah.
So it's always fun to watch. Because what else you got to do on a Tuesday night?
Well, that's kind of like one of the things that the UFC Fight Pass has that's great if you're a striking fan like we are. The UFC has a ton of different events to watch, but they have Muay Thai, to your point. Glory Kickboxing, which is fantastic to watch.
It's like the #1 kickboxing organization, I think, right?
Yeah, that or K1.
Is K1 still around?
I think that they made a comeback, because they closed down, but I think they were trying to reopen.
I think all the big names are in Glory, though.
Yeah, they probably are at this point. But the K1 tournaments used to be the big one. But yeah, I mean, they have that. But the only thing about the Muay Thai fights is since it's in Thailand, they're usually live at like 9 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday. Yeah. So that's the only thing that sucks. But
they have grappling.
Yeah, they have grappling tournaments that they
Eddie Bravo Invitational, which Eddie Bravo is doing striking submission now.
Is he really?
It's open hand strikes, I think, or something, or maybe
I might have to
ground
watch
strikes,
that.
Dude. I don't know if he's still doing it. He was doing that for one of his big tournaments.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Groundbreaking, which I mean, it makes it real.
Yeah, because I mean, everybody says like, who was it that said a punch?
I know. I always tell you this. I can't remember who says this. Like the quote was, everybody's a black belt until they get punched in the face. Then they're a brown belt, and then you punch them in the face again. Then they're a blue belt or something. Yeah. Something like that. I don't know how the belt system works. I don't know what.
It was some fighter. I forgot who that was, but I love that quote. That's so funny.
I believe it was a wrestler that said that.
Oh, I'm sure it was. No doubt. But anyways, going back to this fight. Gabriel Benitez had a big knockout in his last one. He had a big
40
slam.
seconds over. That guy just fought too. He just fought in Uruguay last weekend. Benedet. Yeah. Benedet. That's
you're right. Humberto, right?
Humberto Benedet.
Yeah, Humberto. I love that name.
Humberto.
Had a big slam against him too, man.
He got caught in a deep armbar and picked him up and slammed him and then knocked him out 40 seconds into the fight.
That's some freaking rampage pride.
Like I said, man, he got that Mexicano in him.
Yeah, so that'll be exciting.
Tijuana, dude. That tells you something. He's come from the hood, son.
Yeah. So why don't we kind of get into this?
Let's get into the real shit.
Well, let's talk about that. Who do you choose, or who are you looking at? Because I know you watched a few fights. So you're going to go with Youssef in that one.
Yeah, I mean,
I am
this
too.
Is a prospect type fight.
I am too. I kind of feel like he's.
Benitez doesn't stand out anywhere.
No, he's a good grappler. I would say that's his strong suit.
That's why I think he's just. At best, he's good at something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he stands out anywhere. Youssef's got knockout power. He can push you up against the cage. He can grab a little bit.
Yeah, and I think to your point too, like the way Youssef fights too, he fights very wide stance, so it's going to be hard to take a strong guy down like that.
And I think Benitez is going to be aggressive, and I think Youssef's just going to catch him.
Yeah.
If anything.
Yeah.
At best case.
Yeah, I'm going with Youssef as well in this one. I'm going to say second round knockout because I've seen Youssef go crazy in the opening rounds of a fight, but then he slows down a little bit. But I'm hoping that when he slows down, he gets more particular to his right hand and he tries to lure guys in. He also has some great leg kicks and calf kicks as well on that back leg, that right leg kick. So look for that as well. That could be a defining moment for him as well.
Calf kicks are brutal.
Yeah, you see a lot of guys doing that now. So I'm a little afraid to do calf kicks, man. Like, because if a guy turns his shin in, you go shin to shin on like a straight up.
I don't see many guys check those though. That's the thing. Because I think it's a newer kick. So I don't think people are used to it. I know you've always told me, since you've done Muay Thai a little bit too, that checking kicks is a lifetime thing.
Yeah, like Thai guys do that, but they've been training their shins to not feel pain since they were
They're
like
numb.
since they were
I don't think
5,
you can numb your shin or your calf. I think that's impossible. That's just straight meat.
It is. That's why that one's painful, is because
that'll deaden your leg in 2 or 3 kicks.
Yeah, essentially because you're pinching the muscle in there, so you're feeling a lot more pain.
Bringing that up because I was actually watching the Devontae Smith fight when his last fight. He was using the calf kick, and Dominic Cruz even said, that's a kick that they kick you once, your leg goes numb. It might come back in a minute, but they kick you again, and it's going to be even longer. And then if they kick you again in there, it's done. Yeah. He said it usually only takes 3 kicks for your leg to be done, your calf.
Yeah.
So,
and that's saying something coming from him too. He would
Dominic
know.
Cruz is super high IQ.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean that one's pain. That's just pain when you feel those, as opposed to like breaking a bone or something, like snapping your shin in half. Mm-hmm. Like that's just it hurts.
Yeah.
So that really slows guys down. And to your point too, I think we've seen that pick up a lot over the last year and a half. We've seen a lot more of those calf kicks. Usually guys are trained, they go to that quad hamstring area when they're doing those kicks, typically on the side of your upper leg.
Knee, right?
Or to the knee.
I think that was a thing for a little bit, going to the inside and outside of the knee.
Yeah, because then that kick's
you can
only
take
for
ligaments out.
Yeah, that's only for not friends.
Yeah,
but you can also hurt yourself because if a guy gets into an aggressive stance, and sits on his knee, that's also a very hard bone to kick with your shin.
It's a dangerous one, but I mean, that's one that if you land correctly, it does damage.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
that's a high risk, high reward kick. Which who would have thought you would have a high risk, high reward low kick?
Yeah. That one is. But yeah, so anyways, I think we're both picking Yusuf on that one. I think we're 2 for 2 on similar picks. So let's get into some of the fun shit, man.
Dude.
As
fun at 3 fights as you're ever gonna find.
I know this. The top 3 fights are just gonna be.
This fight's bananas, dude. This is boggling my mind that this is gonna happen.
So why don't you go ahead and shoot off the first one?
Cuban Superman. Yoel Romero's taking on Brazilian. What's the Marvel version of Superman?
I guess the Hulk.
Yeah, Brazilian Hulk. Actually, that's a good one because he just smashes.
Yeah. So, actually, that is when I think about his fights.
So
that kind of works.
Cuban Superman's taking on Brazilian Hulk in this one. That's what I'm labeling this fight as. I like that.
Yeah. Yoel Romero, Paulo Costa. This fight's actually been scheduled now 4 times. It's been scrapped 3. Both guys, I think, at one point.
I think it's been scheduled once officially.
4 times, according to the UFC.
I know they talked about it for like 4 times, but I think one time was official.
Well, one time, it was
like signed contracts.
Yeah, one time it was signed contracts. The other 2 times they verbally agreed and they were supposed to, but one thing led to another. One time, Yoel, I think
the first time was when Yoel popped.
Yeah, he
but
popped.
It wasn't his fault.
Which he just won over $20 million on a settlement with a supplement company that was tainted.
Attaboy, get him.
He can retire. He doesn't need to fight anymore.
And I think Paulo was hurt, and then I think
he got
busted.
Hurt.
Did Paulo get busted?
Yeah, that's what they said. Well, okay, so they didn't officially announce it. Yeah, they didn't announce it because you know that the Drug Administration is trying to not proactively say that stuff until they know what the results are, but everybody said that's what it was. But then I think they found out it was just like a tainted supplement or it was a bad specimen or something like that, and he was fine after that. I don't know why. Oh, never mind. You can't even see that on camera, so I'm not even gonna show you the motion.
Stop jerking off of me, dude.
I don't know what that fucking motion was. But dude, this fight is so much fun. I think the first time
to also label this as Cuban Superman versus Brazilian Hulk. This is an all body match.
That's what I was just about to say. I remember the all body matchup. Yeah. You mentioned
Joe Rogan
named
this. I gotta give credit. Yeah, I gotta give credit to Rogan because the first time this fight was talked about, he was like, "Dude, this is like hide your girlfriend, hide your wives because." You'll never get them back after they watch this one.
Yeah.
They're going to look at those 2 guys, look at you, and they go, why am I with this fucking asshole? Why can't you look like that?
Yeah. Why can't you look like that guy? The only thing I will say, I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything, especially because these guys aren't popped. You got to give credit to where guys are have their due. The one thing I will say about Paulo Costa, though, is he really transformed his body. If you've seen his body –
but
when he started early on.
I think 2 of these guys, to that point, are 2 of the more tested guys I think that have come out.
Oh, I'm sure now.
I think
I'm sure now.
Not long ago they released a list of the most tested fighters. Yoel was definitely in like top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I think Paulo Costa was tested quite a bit too.
Yeah, because Yoel Romero's 42, and he has the body like a 22-year-old wishes they had. Like the guy's
Dude, like
insane.
I could never get that body.
But like he's an Olympic level athlete. He's been wrestling since he was a kid.
We gotta look for all of you out there that need to hear this. There is no such thing as physical equality. And Yoel Romero proves that. At 42 years old, he's in better shape than I have ever and ever will be in my life.
Yeah, that guy's insane. All right, we should probably stop drooling over two men that we're going to watch fight half naked and really kind of get back into the style matchup here. This one's going to be interesting, I think.
I think this favors Yoel pretty well, honestly, watching Paulo fight. I don't know if you got the same thing.
Yeah, I'll ask you first. Like, what's your assessment of Paulo's style?
The one thing I'll say about Yoel, early on in Yoel's UFC career, he kind of gassed himself out early in fights, right? You know, you always saw it. That got him in trouble with Tim Kennedy, which led to Stoolgate. And
Stoolgate,
yeah,
love that.
Look it up if you don't know. I'm not going to go into it because it's a long explanation. But Yoel recently has learned what he is, right? He's an explosive fighter. He can't do it often, so he picks his shots, and when he picks them, he lands.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about Paulo, he carries a lot of muscle, but he fights high paced.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to accuse him of anything, but the two fights that I've seen him in trouble, a groin or an eye poke came in, like a groin shot or an eye poke just happened to find its way in there where he got some rest, and he came out on fire after those and ended up winning those fights.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, Yoel can take a shot, and I think if Paulo leaves himself open, which he will because he's aggressive, Yoel's got more power. Just from what I've seen guys take shots from Paulo, even though he does hit hard as shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen anybody take a bomb from Yoel and live to tell another story. Like, even Whitaker got knocked into fucking next week. You know, he survived him barely. But
he was pretty candid about not wanting to fight, like not eager to fight him again because it was just like hitting a rock, he said.
Yeah, well, why do it? He won twice. He doesn't need to do it again. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
But even though that second one's arguable, but we won't get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think Yoel's he's gonna be defensive. He's gonna rope a dope a little bit. I think he's gonna pick his moments. They're gonna be there because Costa, he wings his shots. I just see him landing a big shot.
Yeah. I think you and I are kind of on the same.
And to say this, Costa's very hittable too.
Very hittable.
Yeah.
So that's kind of. I'm glad you said that because that kind of goes into what I was gonna say. I agree with you. I think at a high level. The only thing is, I'll say I've seen Costa gas. He gasses, and when he gets tired,
I mean, he's straight muscle, and that never favors to cardio.
Hands drop, and he gets slow and lumbering. And the thing is, even when he's explosive in the initial rounds, throwing punches, one, they're winging, they're not too technical, and the other thing too is he doesn't cut angles, so he stands right in front of you, which is not going to be a good thing, especially since
I saw him when I was watching him fight Hendricks. He did cut some angles. Not really anything crazy, but against Yoel, I mean, they're not going to be enough.
Yeah.
He explodes.
Yoel used to be a bit bouncier on his feet, but I think because he's 42 now, he doesn't have that same cardio ability.
It's like I said, I think he's starting to understand what he is.
Yeah, we saw that in the last time he fought Whitaker, where he had this weird style where he literally just stood up in front of you, and he protected his face, and then he counterpunched. But it worked for him. Like a lot of people thought he won that fight.
I mean, it's very arguable for him.
Yeah, both fights I think were very arguable.
I think
either way.
I think the first one Whitaker took it, but I don't think there's much argument for Yoel because he gassed out.
Well, I think because the thing in the first,
that's what he learned in that fight was that he can't go 5 rounds of high-paced action like he did.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second fight, he learned all I have to do is explode and hurt him. And he might have had 2 10-8 rounds in that fight.
Yeah. But yeah, back to this fight. I mean, I think the thing with Yoel, he has obviously the big right hand, but he knows how to cut angles. He's good at counter punching.
He was a southpaw.
Yes.
And when I saw Hendricks landed a lot of bombs on Costa from the southpaw position, which I like for Yoel.
That's a good point too. I didn't even think about that.
Hendricks is smaller. He's only had a 69-inch reach.
Mm-hmm.
Yoel's bigger than that, and he's faster and he's stronger.
Yeah.
And he can wrestle his fucking ass off.
Yeah. Which is funny, Olympic caliber wrestler, but he just uses his wrestling abilities to keep this bad boy standing. So, Yeah, I honestly favor this for Yoel. I mean, I think that this is going to be a firework show for everybody. I think there's going to be a lot of punches. I mean, unless Costa comes in here trying to like feel him out.
I think Costa kind of pressures him early.
Do you
Maybe
think
tries
so?
to get him, yeah,
Press him.
Try to get Yoel to use energy early and gas him out because I think Yoel will gas out before Paulo.
I'm not sure because I don't
they-
know. I've
if
seen
they go
Paulo.
high
I was
pace.
gonna say because I've seen Paulo gas out like pretty quickly. This is only a 3-round fight,
you say
so
that, but I don't know. I thought he looked pretty well for the pace that he fought Uriah Hall at
Yeah.
and how much he was getting hit. I thought he still looked pretty good for, a jack dude like he is.
yeah.
And a guy who just throws everything 100%.
Yeah. Well, hey, there's only one way to tell what their cardio is going to look like one up against
we'll
each
find
other,
out.
and we're going to find out this
I
Saturday.
still think Yoel has the style to beat him.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, if you look at Yoel's 13-3. 2 of his losses came from Whitaker.
One's arguable.
Yeah, one's arguable.
Who's the other loss to? It's not in the UFC.
Rafael
Carvalho?
Cavalcante.
Cavalcante. Oh.
Yeah. So that's a notable loss. Like that's not a bad. Like that dude was tearing it up outside of the UFC.
Yeah.
Before I think he came in for a little while. But anyway, so Paulo Costa's number 7 right now. Yoel's still number 2, of course, just kind of sitting there hoping. I'm sure that Israel
if
wins.
If Izzy wins and Yoel wins, that fight's happening.
Oh yeah, for 100%. Which that would
There'll
be
be
a great
some
fight
shit
too.
talked in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
There's some bad blood in this fight
man.
because Costa's been calling out Romero ever since the first time they've been talking about this. He's been calling him out. Romero's kind of been dismissing him. I think because Costa's been at the bottom of the rankings, and it doesn't do anything for Romero really.
Yeah.
But now at this point, everybody's like, all right, we want to see this fight, and there's really not much else for Romero, so now he took it.
Yeah. And I think that this, if we kind of look at some of the strikes for the stand-up as well, this kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about. So landed per minute, Paulo Costa has actually a really high percentage. He
has a high output, man. He's aggressive.
Yeah, he has 8.83. I think we said that was unheard of with Corey Sandhagen. The only problem here is, though, that he also absorbs to the point that we made, too, 5.79, so almost 6 punches a minute. So,
and the thing that I do like that Costa does is he works head and body a lot. Like, he mixes it up very well, head to body, which you don't see a lot from power punchers because they're usually just chin hunting. But he does work body very well.
Yeah.
Which could work in his favor. I think that would be the one thing that helps him win this fight if he does.
Yeah. The problem is he backs up straight. He doesn't back up and take angles. So
yeah, because I think people don't press him much. So I don't think he really is used to have to taking angles out.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to chase him, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't want to get caught into a...
Still big, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point. But, I mean, then on the other side, you have Yoel Romero, who's more particular about the shots that he takes. He's a power puncher.
But he picks him perfect.
He picks him perfect. I mean,
ask Rockhold, ask Whitaker. He makes him count at this point in his career.
3.28 landed per minute. But here's where the difference is. When you look at absorbed per minute, he's only at 2.7, which is great.
Because he uses like this kind of weird guard that I've never seen. Like he kind of holds his arms like this.
Yeah.
So he only can see through it. Like he can't really hit his chin. Exposed to the body, which I don't know if that'll work against Costa. We'll find out.
Yeah. And then his defense is a lot higher. His defensive percentage is at 63%.
And a lot of people aren't going to like rip off long combos on Romero either because the longer you stay inside, the more chance you have of getting fucking knocked out.
Yeah. And just in case if you're wondering if Paulo Costa is going to come in and do any takedowns, he has 0 takedowns in his UFC
No, he's
career.
he comes to hunt for your head.
Yeah, so
He wants your cranium.
So what do you think is going to happen, Sean? Let's sum this bad boy
I think
up.
Romero knocks him out. I think second round.
Second round? I like that too.
I think Romero just kind of rope-a-dopes a little bit. I think he hits him with some good shots in the first round. Doesn't expend much energy. Maybe he wrestles a little bit. Test Costa on the ground. Maybe. I don't know if he'll do that. He doesn't really use a lot of his wrestling, even though he's Olympic caliber. He's probably the best wrestler in the UFC. But I think in the end, Costa will use too much energy trying to knock him out. I think Romero will take the shots, and I think he'll land that counter
and feed it back to him.
Yeah. Because I've seen Costa get hit a lot. I mean, did you watch him fight Uriah Hall?
Oh yeah. Actually, I think you and I watched that. That was on one of the cards.
That was one of the. Yeah. It was a big card. Actually, it was when Cormier fought Miocic.
Was it really?
Yeah, that's when it was.
No shit.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
Oh.
I just think Romero's gonna He's gonna find that opening. It's gonna be there.
Yeah. I'm gonna one up that, man. I not only do I think Romero's gonna win by knockout, but I'm gonna kind of call the shot that he's gonna either start with the combo to finish him, or he's gonna finish him.
Yeah, I like him from the southpaw, and I would look for a flying knee in this fight.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You'll probably see it because he's had some success with that.
Because Costa's a boxer, and boxers they're gonna duck their heads, try to roll a lot too, to try to avoid counters, and I think he might duck his head into a flying knee.
So this is what I think is going to happen. Yoel Romero likes taking, to your point, he's southpaw. He likes taking this big open step on the outside of his opponents, and then he comes across with this left hand. So it's kind of like this misleading front side move.
Like he's gonna almost kick with his power leg, but he's gonna come with a front hook.
and he closes the distance like instantly because he takes this huge. Yeah, that's his thing. Like especially early on in his career, he was explosive. So I'm gonna even one up it. Say not only is he gonna knock him out, he's gonna either start the combo to knock him out, or he's gonna knock him out with that move
with the hook.
No, it's just a straight left. But it's the way he closes the distance and the way he takes the angle that throws opponents off.
It's very awkward.
Yeah, it's very awkward because it's misleading. It looks like a front hand hook or something like that, or maybe even a front leg kick or step or something.
Lean almost?
No, it's like he comes in at that. He takes like a hard pivot, a hard angle in to cut off your front side. And especially fighting a
right down the middle.
Yeah. So he's going to take that. It's going to be a little awkward. He's going to catch Costa that way because Costa doesn't keep his hands up very often. And that's
he doesn't move his head off the center line.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
That was something that we used to talk about a lot.
That's one thing we saw in the Uriah Hall fight. He had a hard time dealing with speed.
Yeah. Uriah Hall looked good in that fight, if I remember correctly, up until Costa finished him.
Like I said, you know what led to Uriah Hall's downfall? Costa he was getting tagged up. He hit him in the nuts twice. And then the second time after he hit him, he came out firing and knocked him out. And he did the same thing against Hendricks. Hendricks started having success against him. I poked him. And when they came off the break, just stormed him.
Yeah.
I'm not accusing him, but it's suspicious.
I'm not, but yeah. Honestly, that does make a big difference. I mean, we saw it. John Jones did it to Alexander Gustafsson in their last fight. We've seen that historically.
We've seen that, when guys get tired, they may take, knowing that they'll at worst get a warning, they might find themselves in a break.
Yeah. So, all right, man. So we both got the picks on that one. Do you have the odds in front of you for that one?
This is a really close one. This is, I think, the closest of the night. Romero's a minus 155 to Costa 135.
Yeah. So
actually, I'm sorry. This is the next two fights are closer than this.
Oh, wow. That's crazy because that's close odds right there. But, yeah, so Vegas kind of agrees with us and thinks that, that Romero's going to take this one. So, awesome, man. I'm excited. I know a lot of people are excited for this fight. This is a big one here. So, on to the next, man. So, this is a co-main event. I think this is a fun one. This is the people's fight right here. Like, I know you and I are excited for Yoel Romero and Paulo Costa, but I don't know.
Both of these fights are the people's fight. I mean, I don't think you'll be disappointed either fight.
Your people outside, like casual fans, are very aware.
This is what I'll say. The Yoel or Costa fight, that's going to be one that you're looking for the big knockout. I think this one you're looking for 3 rounds of just bloody war.
Yeah, this one's going to be. I think
they both have something to offer.
Yeah, different. This one's going to be a ton of fun, man.
High
Nate
cardio.
Diaz and Anthony Pettis.
High level striking.
Yeah.
And this is the thing
at 170 too, which is weird.
I love it. No weight cut.
Yeah.
I love it. We're starting to see that trend a little bit more, and I think you're going to start seeing it even more and more. Mm-hmm. The thing I love for Pettis about this fight, doesn't have to worry about a crazy striker. Nate Diaz isn't fast. He's long. He's not overly accurate. He just throws a lot of volume. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to worry about takedowns, which means Pettis can throw whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah, so you're looking for something crazy. Like you're looking for that tornado kick. You're looking for
Pettis
that.
Always has this crazy shit in his back pocket.
Yeah.
Spinning kicks.
Cartwheel kicks. Off the fence, everything.
Showtime kicks.
He lives up to his moniker.
He is exciting, man.
Yeah.
And
Showtime.
Recently, since he's started having these exciting fights, starting to Holloway, he said, I'm not going to worry about takedowns because my jiu-jitsu is awesome. I'm just going to go out there and fucking fight. Yeah. And I think he's going to amp it up even more this one. He's going to be ready to fight.
This is a great matchup all around. If this goes to the ground, you're going to see high-level grappling. Nate Diaz is great on top. Anthony Pettis has some great submissions.
They're both great off their back.
Obviously, Nate Diaz. I mean, it goes unspoken that the Diaz brothers are great off their back, training with Eddie Bravo, who you mentioned earlier as well.
No, they train with Renzo Gracie.
I thought they came from
they're
Eddie
not
Bravo.
No, they're one of the Gracie. He just started fighting, too. He just had his first fight in the UFC not long ago. Is it Renzo? I think it's Renzo.
Yeah.
No, it's Crone. Crone Gracie. It's Crone.
Oh. Well, then I take that back. Eddie Bravo.
Ferguson's.
Who am I thinking? Oh, at Ferguson's Eddie Bravo. All right. Well, I take back my jiu-jitsu knowledge of the Diaz brothers.
But they're trained by a legit.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to get to. They're both. I mean, they're going to both be
how
great.
Crone is. Crone Gracie had to do MMA because jiu-jitsu was getting so boring for him because nobody would.
Crone he tears up because if you watch Joe Rogan too, I don't watch a lot of jiu-jitsu tournaments, but if you listen to Joe Rogan, he says he's one of the guys that you have to absolutely watch.
He was so good that this is what I heard from Rogan's podcast is that people were basically just stalemating with him because they didn't want to take chances.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's one of the only guys in the world that even the top level guys they wouldn't take chances against him. They wouldn't do nothing. They would just basically try to stalemate.
That's crazy, man.
And then it was so boring for him that he had to start doing MMA.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. And to that point, though, I mean, either way, the Diaz brothers Nate himself, if we just mention him, I think that this is going to be a great fight, whether it goes to jiu-jitsu or whether this is going to be a stand-up battle and you're watching these guys box, kickbox. It's going to be insane.
When you get a Diaz fight from either one of them, you count on three things: cardio, volume, jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And what does Pettis do? Volume. He doesn't necessarily do cardio, but he does volume, jiu-jitsu, and just crazy ass shit. So it really lines up for a great fight.
Yeah, if anything, the only concern I see here is if I'm going back, and I just go back to one fight because Showtime's fought for a long time in the UFC, so is Nate. So it's like you have to watch these guys develop, and you can't think about who they used to be, but who they are right now. Mm-hmm. The one concern I have is when he was fighting Wonder Boy, he took a lot of shots. Leading up to him knocking out. He looked a little slow and lumbering. I don't know if he was trying to figure him out or something, but he took a lot of punches.
I think, to counter your thing, is with Wonder Boy, he's a very hard puzzle to figure out, right? Especially if you're smaller than him. If you're smaller than him, you're at a huge disadvantage because of his movement.
Yeah.
And I think Pettis' game plan for that was hands up, walk him down, kick the legs, just chop it. I think he went very Muay Thai against Wonder Boy. And it ended up working because Wonder Boy's movement was a little staggered by the time he knocked him out.
Yeah.
And I think he went in that fight knowing that he was going to have to eat a lot of shots because Wonder Boy's super accurate, super stealthy. Uses a lot of movement.
That can be worrisome against a guy like Diaz who just can throw so many punches in a match.
Yeah, but I think he's not as technically sound. He doesn't use movement like Wonder Boy.
Yeah,
he's not as big.
No, but he's a volume puncher though.
He is a volume puncher.
He can
but
throw.
When volume punchers open themselves for counters. Because he doesn't move like a Max Holloway or a Wonder Boy. That he gets in and out.
Yeah,
he's basically just going to sit in the pocket. He's going to be willing to trade with you.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too, though, is Nate can take a punch. We've seen that.
He absolutely can.
We've seen that time and time again. He can take a punch, and that's kind of that's really the only concern I see for Anthony Pettis, and I'll get into that in a second. Why I think that, but. That's my only concern is, when I go back and look at the Wonder Boy fight, and, I mean, you do make a good point that, right, Stephen Thompson's tough for anybody to kind of figure out that stand-up.
There's no easy fight against Wonder Boy.
Yeah.
There's no easy style because he can wrestle, too.
Yeah. And it's just that would be my only concern is that he's slow and lumbering and he's waiting for an opening. Meanwhile, he's taking a ton of shots.
I think he'll use more movement against Nate Diaz,
which I would like to see if he's moving. Because
Nate Diaz will walk him down a little bit, where Wonder Boy is more of a counter striker. I think he knew that's the style. He's going to have to fight very Muay Thai style. I think this one he knows he can fight more karate style, more like Wonder Boy-ish. He can use the fancy kicks. He can set up things.
Especially since Nate stands up very tall, too. Yeah. He doesn't
Nate, the one thing against Nate is you can kick the fuck out of his lead leg.
Yeah. Cause he stands very awkward. His boxing style is awkward.
And he stands heavy on his front leg.
Yeah, he does. Because he baits you in to that boxing matchup. But yeah, man, this is gonna be exciting either way because I see a lot of stuff coming out. You're gonna see both these guys showboating in the middle of the fight,
and this is a fight that Pettis wants bad,
dude.
Not just Pettis, even Nate Diaz even came out. And
there is bad blood in this one.
Yeah, well, a little bit more on.
Well,
Pettis'
I think I was gonna say I think
Diaz
it's more so. Yeah,
I think Pettis just doesn't like the way that Nate carries himself.
Mm-hmm.
But even Nate, the reason he came back, he said this is a fight he wanted because he knew Pettis would come to fight.
Yeah.
He said he knew Pettis would stand in front of him. He's going to trade shots. He's going to be there to hit. He ain't going to try to hump his leg.
Weren't these guys matched up for a grappling event too? But
Maybe.
that never came to fruition.
It might have been.
I feel like they were set up for
Pettis,
one of those.
did a grappling match with Masvidal.
Yeah, I know. That was awesome. No, they were set up because I remember that one. That was big setup. But I feel like these guys were meant to get together in a like I said, honestly, like this is one of the few matchups too that I'd be excited if this went to the ground just because there's a lot of potential down there.
Yeah, wherever this fight goes, it's going to be fun, dude.
There's high-level grappling on the mat. We're going to see some high-level stand-up. Honestly, if this were to happen in the best light possible, we're going to see stand-up in the first round, some great grappling in the second, finish off with both in the third.
Yeah, I think with no weight cut either, Nate's cardio is going to be there.
Yeah.
Pettis, not as good of cardio, but he's got a pretty decent cardio.
He can go 3 rounds. Mm-hmm. He can go hard 3 rounds. He's done 5
Even
round
in the
fights
Ferguson
before.
fight, he was fine.
Yeah.
He just broke his hand.
Yeah. Which is hard to believe that if he can go toe to toe with Ferguson, like
the way he did. I mean, he was having a lot of success in that fight.
Yeah, like why couldn't he do that against Diaz?
That's what I'm saying.
Those guys are on 2 different levels.
I like this because Pettis is an elite striker.
Mm-hmm.
And the Diaz brothers have always had problems with the elite strikers and the elite grapplers. They always do well with well-rounded guys.
Mm-hmm.
Guys who don't really stand out necessarily in other places. Guys who can kick them. Guys who can just outmaneuver them. That's the guys they have problems with, and I think Pettis has a game plan for them.
And here's the other thing, too, is Nate Diaz hasn't had a lot of success at 170.
Nope.
I know
his biggest win came at 170.
I know people are always clamoring for him for some reason to have a title shot, but if you remember, he's also 19-11. I mean, he's fun to watch. I love watching both the brothers fight, but I mean, come on.
They're going to give you your money's worth.
Nick is the more superior fighter. Nate's just fun to watch. But Anthony Pettis is actually, I mean, he wins this fight. He's he's right in that 170 mix for a title shot.
Honestly, if he wins this fight, I'd like to see him fight Masvidal.
That would be
Tell me you wouldn't fucking
who wouldn't
money for that fight.
The only reason I wouldn't want to see that fight is because I want to see him fight. I want to see both those guys fight for the title respectively.
You do, but Colby's getting the next shot, so
yeah.
I think Masvidal's going to fight Leon Edwards anyway, but if I was Pettis and if I win this fight and I get on the mic, I'm calling out Masvidal. Why not, dude?
Yeah, I mean, hey, you might as well.
He's next in line after Colby.
Yeah. I agree with you.
That punches your ticket. Masvidal's a hot ticket right now. Like, Conor McGregor even wants to fight Masvidal.
Does he really?
Yeah, because Dana White said Masvidal's too big for him. And he just said, oh, really?
Nah, that's a whole other thing. I don't even want to talk about Conor McGregor.
That's a lot of conversation. That's a whole other podcast.
Both these guys have fought just about anybody, though.
They both fought whoever matters.
Yeah, Pettis, just going back a couple years, Stephen Thompson, Tony Ferguson, Michael Chiesa, Dustin Poirier, Jim Miller, Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira, Edson Barboza, Eddie Alvarez, Rafael Dos Anjos. Then we go over that, and that, mind you, that's just Anthony Pettis in just the last few years. Nate Diaz, the other factor I think that's going to go against him is obviously he sat out for a while. I mean, it's been 2 years.
I don't think that matters too much for him because even when he fought McGregor, I know he had fought in like December before he fought him, but he was out for a year or 2 before that.
I mean, he had both.
The thing about him is he does triathlon, so he stays in shape.
Yeah, he does.
And he's fought enough fights and he trains enough.
Yeah. Even if you go back to look at Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor twice in a row, Michael Johnson, Rafael Dos Anjos, Gray Maynard, Josh Thompson, Benson Henderson. I mean, these guys both fought Donald Cerrone. Both these dudes are just insane. I mean, their track record of who's who of who they fought at lightweight,
this is like
especially.
A perfect fight for both of them at their point in their career.
Yeah.
It's going to make them money, and it's a fun fight for both of them. Stylistically, it matches up well for both, and it's good for everyone at this point.
Yeah. So what's your verdict, man? What do you think's going to happen on Saturday?
I think Pettis' movement and leg kicks win him the fight.
Leg kicks and movement win him the fight.
I think he fights him similar to how Condit fought Nick Diaz. He uses movement. He fights a little bit going backwards. I think he does entice the brawls a little bit more than Condit did. But I think he's just too elite of a striker, I think. I think he finds the counters.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Nate Diaz. I've seen him also like when he because he's known for taking these long layoffs and he looks rusty when he comes back. His boxing.
The thing about Nate though is he talks so much shit during the fight that he entices
No, he does.
his
He does.
opponent to
But
bad things.
Anthony Pettis
I
has
think
so
Anthony
much
Pettis is gonna have
experience.
fun. I think they're both gonna have fun with this.
Both these guys are gonna have
As much
fun.
as we say there's bad blood in this, which it's mostly on Pettis' side, has been talking shit.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna have fun in there. I think they love it.
Oh, 100%. But to your point, I think Pettis is going to win this one. I think he's, without the weight cut and all that stuff, he's riding high right now. I think he takes it too.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna take this one. So, dude, we're 4 for 4 on agreeing.
This is
I
weird.
think. Yeah, this
I don't like it.
We don't usually do this, but
You better not be picking my next pick.
this might actually the main event might be the only place that we might disagree. I don't know who you're picking. I'll let you know who I'm picking.
That tells me that I think we're disagreeing.
Yeah. See, so this is
you
good.
seem pretty confident.
I'll get into that. So let's talk about it. Daniel Cormier, Stipe Miocic 2, heavyweight title on the line. There's a few underlying tones here. Does Cormier retire after this fight?
Nope. He just came out and said he wants Jones at heavyweight.
Jones isn't going to fight him at heavyweight, though.
I think he will. Jones's ego will make him fight at heavyweight.
I don't know if he will.
This is what I'll say about this fight.
Go ahead. Shoot.
I was picking Cormier in the first fight. I'm just going to come out with it. I'm picking him in the second fight.
Mm-hmm.
I think Stipe Miocic to Cormier is what Cormier is to John Jones. I think that's how he's looking at it. I think that he's looking at this is his chance to kind of do what John Jones did to him to do to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that means something to him.
Yeah.
And I picked him the first time because I felt I liked his boxing going into that fight, which ended up prevailing. He's generally a slower starter because he takes time to kind of figure guys out, their speed, their movement a little bit. They kind of he's even come out and said he wants to test somebody's power a little bit. So I think he's going to get off to another slow start. But I just like he can go 5 rounds. He can wrestle his ass off. Miocic isn't out wrestling him. I think he's a better boxer too. Mm-hmm. And we saw the power in the first fight. I think maybe he comes in a little bit leaner, uses a little bit more speed. He doesn't have to worry about a southpaw high kick like he did with Jones. Mm-hmm. He can use his leans to get kind of out of the punching range. And at heavyweight, I don't see any heavyweight that has the tools to beat Daniel Cormier.
Yeah. So we do agree. I actually picked Cormier too.
I thought the way you were setting that up is that you're picking Miocic.
My heart goes with Miocic. My head
goes with Cormier.
Yeah, my heart's with Miocic, but my head and my senses and my MMA knowledge goes with Daniel Cormier. And it's to that point too where I think he just has all the tools. I mean, really Stipe's best attribute that he's bringing to this fight is he has a much longer reach advantage, but obviously we saw he didn't get to fully utilize that. I think in the first fight,
let's talk about this too that I didn't say. Cormier can take a fucking shot, and Stipe, even when he got knocked out before that, he's been rocked in all like his last 4 or 5 fights before that one.
Well, I mean, he has a history of getting knocked out. I'm pretty sure he got knocked out by Dos Santos. I know he got knocked out by Struve.
I don't think did he get knocked out by Dos Santos? I think that was a
in
decision.
the first fight.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was a decision.
It might have been. But I know that
Struve knocked him dead.
Yeah, Struve knocked him the fuck out. Not the best loss to have. I mean, Struve knocked a few guys out back in the day before he kind of fell off. But I mean, again, you have a lot of pro fights between both these guys. 18-3 and 22-2 or something like that. I think
this is the best heavyweight matchup that has ever been in the UFC.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, wasn't Stipe like one of the longest reigning heavyweight reigning heavyweight champ?
I think the only better matchup that you could get is Cormier versus Cain Velasquez in his prime, which would never happen anyway. Obviously, Cain's out of his prime, but they're also teammates, so that would never happen. So realistically, I think this is the best matchup that's ever been possible.
Okay, you're right. Junior Dos Santos, he did lose by decision in the first one.
That was a great fight, though.
Yeah, that was back when Junior Dos Santos was knocking everybody out at heavyweight, so that tells you something. So he's only lost by knockout once then, and that was to Daniel. Oh, twice, yeah, sorry, and Struve. I even mentioned that earlier. But, all right, so let me ask you this then, off the top of your head. 3 keys to victory for Daniel Cormier.
Close distance. Use your volume. I think eventually he'll start using his movement. He'll make a miss. And I think just don't rush. Pick your shots. Because I think Stipe sounds motivated. I think he's going to come hungry, and I think he's going to be aggressive. Like he was in the first fight. He was aggressive.
Yeah. 3 keys to victory for Stipe.
For Stipe, I don't know. Let's see. 3 keys. Do you have 3 keys to victory for him?
stay long.
I don't know if that's possible for him.
He has a huge reach
he has
advantage.
Huge reach, but he doesn't seem to use reach.
But he needed to figure that out. He's had plenty of time between the first and the first fight and this fight.
Avoid the clinch. That's for sure.
Yeah, avoid the clinch and don't fall for the wrestling feints. Because on the flip side, one of my keys to victory for Daniel Cormier is wrestling.
See,
even if he's not,
I think he has to use his wrestling to mix in the striking.
That's why I think it's one of his keys to victory. He has to at least take him down once, and even if he doesn't do anything there, he has to make Stipe think about that wrestling, so that way he can fire up top. Because that's going to be how he comes inside, comes into the pocket, and really fires off some of those that great boxing. Daniel Cormier does have great boxing, man. I mean, it's really coming to his own.
Ever since the second fight with Jones, it's really been like on display how great his boxing is.
He's crisp. He's fast. He
up
moves
to
great.
Elite level.
Yeah, for a guy that's his size and stuff,
actually, I would put it up
great.
there because he fights guys that are way bigger than him, and he fucking tags them.
Yeah, I mean, he was tagging Jones in that second fight before he got a shin to the forehead and went that night.
Yeah, he was winning that fight.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah. I don't see Stipe winning this fight. I mean, unless he just comes out and for some reason Cormier can't get inside on him and he can't wrestle him. But I don't see Miocic taking two tools away from him.
Cormier is more favored.
Yep, 100%. I agree with that. Cormier can go high level 5 rounds. Period.
Paced.
Yep, high pace, high level 5 rounds.
If you get tired, he's going to take you down. He's going to wrestle you. And one thing I like that Cormier kind of talked about was because, like when Miocic lost to Cormier, like this wasn't his first loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's lost twice before this, and he seemed to really like harp on the fact that Cormier wasn't eager to like give him his rematch because Cormier was going to take the Brock Lesnar fight for money, and excuse me, Daniel talked about how when he lost to John Jones, he wasn't pushing for an immediate rematch. Granted, he wasn't champion when he lost, but he seemed like Stipe was too. Almost like Aldo against McGregor, like he was too focused on getting that rematch, even though he got knocked out in the first round. He just kept harping on it, and he kept talking about it to the media, like, oh, he's scared to get the rematch, or I deserved it, and bullshit. And he didn't want to get back in there. He waited too long. He's been out for a while. And Cormier just kind of talking about, like when I lost, I got back in there. I just wanted to get back in there.
Yeah, I will say
he's too focused on the negatives.
I do like Stipe, but that's one I've been disappointed with how he handled the loss to that point because that's
kind of the point I was trying to make, like how he handled it.
Yeah, he didn't handle it well. Because at the end of the day, you lost. It doesn't matter if you think that doesn't happen. That only happens once out of 10 times, but it happened to you, and you need to get back on the boat. You need to win. Because I mean, for him on the flip side, like look at some of the guys that he's fought against. Does he really want to turn around right again and fight him? Like when he beat him definitively, does he want to fight Francis Ngannou after he out-wrestled him for 5 rounds?
Blades.
I mean,
Blades was up there.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like,
I'm sure there was fights.
My point is, would Stipe want to do that? He beats these guys definitively. Does he really want to have a quick turnaround and give these guys instant rematches? What's the point? So I mean, he needs to fight. He needed to fight top contenders, but
I think it's the way he handled it is kind of
that's the thing is he's
going to the media.
He's pouted.
Yeah, he trashed
pouted.
Cormier and this and that.
Yeah,
I think Cormier took that personally. Like, dude, come on, like.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Cormier fan. I know you're not either. I'll
tell you what,
super
man,
cheesy.
He's won me over the last couple of years.
I'm still not a big fan.
I know you're not, but just gonna hear his story a little bit. His fights have been more exciting. He's been a little bit more ever since Anderson Silva. He's been a little bit more after it.
Yeah,
he gets a little corny in his pre-fight build-up.
Yeah,
he admits that. I mean, he's admitted that, so I can look past it. But I'm a Cormier fan at this point.
Yeah,
I hope the best for him.
I'm not. I'm gonna be candid. I'm not a big fan of him.
I love him.
He's had opportunities to shine and look good and put on fights for fans. He hasn't done it. So not his biggest fan. I don't like the way he's handled some of his stuff. I think ever since he's become a broadcaster, I think is what's won me over. If you remember, for the fans out there, the reason that this fight's happening is because the Brock Lesnar fight couldn't happen because that was the one that
I
they
understood
were trying
it
to
though.
set up. I didn't want to see that fight.
I didn't want to see it, but I understood it from Cormier's perspective.
I don't care. Honestly, at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck about that shit. I'm so tired of hearing about these guys. I mean, trust me, I get it. I sympathize with them that they're trying to make some money, but I don't give a fuck. I don't want to see Brock Lesnar so undeserving of a heavyweight title shot that if he were to win it by accident, I would be so beside myself pissed. I couldn't even tell you, man. So, not a big fan. That's my 2 cents on that.
We'll finally disagree on something.
Not even though we're 5 for 5 on the main card for who we pick for fights, but we'll disagree on who we like. But yeah, man. What's the odds on this one? Let's close this bad boy out.
This was I think Cormier was a favorite by 135, and Miocic was the plus 115.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I just saw it come
it's the same
around.
for the last fight. Pettis was the favorite.
Yeah.
For 135, Nate Diaz plus 115.
Cool. I know I have him on my ticker on the screen, so I look over at it, but I'm like, I'll let you read it out. So either way, man, fantastic card. This is in California, right?
Anaheim.
In Anaheim. So this should be a fun fight, man. Super excited. Again, I think you made a great point at the beginning of the show. Like tune in, watch this one because we don't know. Yeah, because we don't know when we're gonna get another big card. I mean, obviously the end of the year, but
I mean, some of these cards may be fun, but they're just not. It's very unknown.
Yeah, a lot of unknown fighters too. So
which we're not saying not tune in. You should
of course
if you got
not.
time.
Yeah.
If it ends up being boring, you can always turn it off.
Yeah, of course. So, so thank you everybody for tuning in. Any other closing notes, man? Anything else that you want to kind of add here at the end?
No, I think we pretty much went over everything.
Yeah, we covered it. It's going to be a fun fight. Thanks for tuning in. If anybody's still watching us live on any of our sites at this point, it's 10 o'clock on a Wednesday. But or if you're downloading, if you want to catch our show, you only caught the end of it. We'll have it up on iTunes and Spotify and all that stuff for podcast downloads. Also on YouTube if you want to watch the video. You want to see mine and Sean's ugly mugs on the screen for some reason. We're on YouTube. You can find us all of our channels, social media and otherwise at the Casuals MMA. You can look for our nice orange fist logo with the gray, the Casuals MMA across it. Otherwise, guys, thank you for tuning in. And hopefully we'll see you on Sunday for the post-fight show.
Yep.
All right, signing out. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.